Today I want to talk about why I returned the Netgear Orbi. Now the Netgear Orbi, if you're not familiar with it, is a whole home Wi-Fi system. If you're familiar with Wi-Fi repeaters, it's kind of a similar concept but with far better performance. What it does is it takes your Wi-Fi router and adds satellites around your home. The package I got had 2 satellites. This diagram only has 1. But the idea here is you can connect a base router to your internet and then have a satellite in another part of your home to ensure that you have good, dedicated Wi-Fi reception everywhere in your home. Poor Wi-Fi reception is the #1 reason for buffering. A lot of people don't think about, oh, I got 100 down, it should work great. But in reality, what you're seeing is slow Wi-Fi due to weak Wi-Fi reception where your TV is. I experienced this a little bit in my home. I have a home office that sits above our garage. So the living room, which is on the far side on the first floor, and our back porch gets kind of weak Wi-Fi reception. So after many requests to review the Orbi, the whole home Wi-Fi system, I decided to check it out and see if I could get better Wi-Fi reception in our living room and especially in our back patio. It's always fun to kind of sit, in the evening on the back patio and hang out with friends or just surf the web. So unfortunately though, I was very disappointed for a few main reasons, and I ended up returning it. Now, before I explain why though, I do want to make one thing clear. I'm a huge Netgear fan. I replaced it with a Netgear Nighthawk, which is what I had before. So it's not Netgear that's a problem. There's a few fundamental flaws though in the Orbi that for my particular case was it was undoable. I had to return it. So we're going to dive into that, but I want to let you know, I'm a big fan of Netgear. I would highly recommend the Netgear Nighthawk. I think it's a better device for most cord cutters, and I'll explain why. Now, the Netgear Orbi has several satellites. I got the 3 device version, the router and 2 satellites. I put the router in my office above the garage. I put one of the satellites on the 2nd floor on the center of the house, and then I put the 2nd satellite in the 1st floor in the center of the house for good coverage. And it did that. I actually had good strong signal all throughout the home for the most part. There's 2 main issues though. Now it's a tri-band router, which means it has one 2.4 gigahertz band and 2 5 gigahertz band. Now cord cutters should always, whenever possible, be using 5 gigahertz bands. 5 gigahertz just gives far better speed on the Wi-Fi network, and it may not have as great of penetration, but for gaming, streaming, music, pretty much anything nowadays, 5G is the way to go. And doorbell cameras, whatever, older devices on the 2.4 gigahertz is great. Most routers, including the Netgear Nighthawk, allow you to select which one you want. The Orbi tries to intelligently decide which network to go to, and that was the main problem I ran into. Is it kept shoving everything to the 2.4 gigahertz, which, as you can see in these testing, if I can switch over, there we go. Now this is some speed tests I did with the speed test app on my Google Pixel. And as you can see, I spent some time yesterday playing around with this, trying to make it work. And I finally ended up giving up after 10 p.m. last night, switched it all back to my Nighthawk. So let me explain this. So at the very top is my Nighthawk coming in our living room in the 1st floor of our house. The farthest point away from our house, or from the router in our house, is 70.5 gigahertz, or down on the 5 gigahertz network. The ones below that, the 3 tests below that, are all in our living room on the Orbi. Now it doesn't display. You can't just go in the settings and say, show me which ones are 5 gigahertz or 2.4 without getting into the editing of the products. And then the 3 below that are actually on the 2nd floor of my house in kind of the kids' playroom. We have a little TV in there for our daughter to have all of her toys and whatever. You see, even that speed is kind of disappointing. Now I pay for Cox 100 down, and I usually average about 110 on a direct Ethernet connection. So 70 to 100 is kind of the average I would get with a 5.5 gigahertz Wi-Fi network around the house. But with the Orbi, at best I was getting 28. And at worst, in our living room TV, I was getting anywhere from 8 to 13 down. That's just not going to cut it. We had noticeable buffering issues in our living room TV while testing out the Orbi. I was just very disappointed. It does have dual bands. It has a tri-band, so there's two 5Gs, but it doesn't create multiple networks. There's just one network, that whatever you name it. And then the Orbi in the we know best mode that too many companies today are doing is we know best. We can tell you what is best, and we're going to automatically connect you to the one. It kept shoving me down to the 2.4. As you see in those speeds, it was a disappointing speed performance. It just wasn't giving me the speed I needed. I tried all kinds of tricks and how-to guides online to make that happen. Now, I will say I did find a Reddit post where somebody posted some code. You can go in the troubleshooting, the programmer side, inject new code into your router and force it to create multiple Wi-Fi networks to pick from. And that's where I drew the line. I wanted this to be a review of what the average person can do, and even I struggled to make that code work, so I'm not going to recommend it. You need to really know what you're doing with the Wi-Fi code, and you can easily damage your device doing that, so I wouldn't recommend it. Netgear, this is a simple fix. Your Nighthawks, excellent, super powerful routers, have two networks to pick from, the 5G and the regular, and I love that. And without issues, that's what I've been using. I wish the Orbi would do that. The other issue I had was it would often push my devices onto the main router in the home. Even though that was only about 50 to 70% power, it seemed like anytime it was at 70 or so, it would try to kick off to the main Wi-Fi router. That meant in our master bedroom, in our living room, and in our back patio where signal was weak, it was still trying to jump back to the main router, which caused glitches. It was poor speed. The reason I went with the Orbi is I wanted it to connect to the satellite version, not to the main router. But you have no control over that. Again, we know best. We're going to do that. Really wish that the Netgear app would allow me to say, this Roku TV, I always want to connect to this satellite. But it didn't. For some reason, the Roku TV in the living room kept trying to jump back to the main router with weak signal, typically around 56 to 70, depending on how I maneuvered everything. Now, 70% was the best I could get, but it was still giving me these poor speeds. And again, it kept shoving me down to the 2.4 gigahertz band, which resulted in these slow 13, 8, and 9 down speeds. As you see here, the up speed, though, stayed very consistent. My ping stayed very consistent. It was the down speed that was the issue, all related to the fact that it was not connected to the 5 gigahertz network. So those are the two main reasons I returned it. I wasn't getting the speed I want, and it wasn't connecting to the satellite I want. And without going in there and reprogramming it, it wasn't an option to do it. Basically, Netgear said, why would you want two networks? We know what's best for you. We're programming it that will tell you what you need. Well, obviously, at least for me, that wasn't the right case. I don't know if my house is not big enough. I tried going down to one satellite, just having one on the main floor and the router on the second floor. That seemed to not have any effect on it. I still struggled to connect to the satellite I wanted, and I still struggled to keep on the 5 gigahertz network. It kept defaulting back down. Tested this on a Lenovo brand new 2017 laptop. I tested this on a Google Pixel and on 2016 and 2017 Roku TVs. Not impressed. All of them are more than capable of the 5 gigahertz network, and with my Netgear Nighthawk, which you can kind of see sitting there by the TV box right there, it has no problem doing that. So those are the reasons I returned it. Now, the Netgear Orbi is a great idea. I think these issues are all very solvable with a software update to create dual networks where I can say I always want the 5G. And I would love the ability to say this Roku TV needs to be on this satellite, not trying to connect to the weak main router. I don't know if my house is not big enough. We have a fairly average sized 2-story house with a room above the garage. So I would assume that this would work. The Nighthawk is more than powerful enough for 95% of the home. It's that 5% where the living room is and the back porch is. I think the fact that we have a brick back porch, maybe have something to do with the siding on the house being brick, maybe blackening it from the back porch a little bit. So I was just disappointed. I returned it. What I think I may do is upgrade. They have a new Nighthawk out that's a little bit more powerful. I think I'm going to go with the Nighthawk there. I like to have it in my office here because I like to hardwire in whenever possible when I'm doing reviews. That removes the Wi-Fi issue. And to have the Ethernet available in my office, I like to keep the router here. Now, that does mean that's not in the optimal position. You should always try to place your Wi-Fi router in the center of your home if at all possible. But that just wasn't an option here. So questions, comments on this, I'll do my best. I don't think it's a bad product. I do love Netgear. I would recommend the Netgear Nighthawk though for cord cutters just because of the 5G issue. And yes, I do understand that you can reprogram your router, but I wanted this review to be for the average person. I don't think the average person wants to go into the code of the router, inject new code into it, reboot it to make it work. That is something that I would caution people against doing unless you really know what you're doing. So questions, comments, let me know. If you have cord cutting questions in general, join us every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We do a weekly cord cutting Q&A where I'll do my best to answer your cord cutting related questions to help you get the most out of your cord cutting experience. Every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern for about an hour. And hopefully this has helped you make a purchasing decision to get more out of your cord cutting experience and maybe help you solve some buffering issues. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit that like button. It really does help us.